Welcome to week 3 of Data 758, Cloud Computing and Analytics. This week we're going to talk about the historical development of data systems, all the way from early data warehousing, database theory, all the way through current cloud solutions that we have today. So our learning outcomes for this week, we're going to explore that historical development of data systems, and we're going to start with the Inman-Kimball data warehousing theory pieces, and then we're going to take it through data integration hubs and the Hadoop technology, which made some of that possible, and some of the activity that happened following those initial data warehouses. Then the emergence of cloud, which is where data lakes, data oceans, data puddles came into play. And then finally seeing emergence of things like serverless computing, data as a service. So looking at this from the data warehousing side of this, the evolution from the early beginnings to what you currently see today. Now, given that last week we had a lot of required reading to get you through a couple of chapters through the base material so that we could have more advanced discussions about the cloud and data warehousing and data systems within the cloud, there was a lot of required reading, and understood that maybe you may have not made it through all of that reading. So this week we're not going to have any required reading from the textbook assigned. But there is a supplemental lecture video which will be included with the course, and that gives you a really good deep dive into that historical development, walks you through all of the pieces, as well as gives you some links which you can go out to, some online material that you can go and explore. Because for this week, while you don't have required reading, you're expected to go out and conduct some online research. Look into the AWS and Azure data services specifically. Now, if you want to explore how Google does it or how IBM does it, that's great. I encourage you to do that, but really kind of focusing your initial look on this between the AWS and Azure. Now, on that, the key topics here, again, if we focus on those two architectures, here's an architecture diagram, and we go into it a little bit more detailed in the supplemental lecture. But you can see that there's equal parts on both of these two designs, such as there's a data ingest of your data. Now, whether that's coming from an S3 bucket and it's going through a Lambda function, or whether it's coming in through a raw data feed, a log, etc., or whether it's coming in from existing data stores within Azure, there's a one-for-one type match between these. So the products may be very different and have different names, or may have slightly different focus areas. There may be more or less of them between these solutions. There is a one-for-one, and you can see when you get it down to the core components, especially from a data warehousing perspective, you can see those core components are available in both of these two architectures. So explore these two architectures, again, at kind of a summary level, look into some of the various services that are offered, and these various touch points which you're seeing here. Now, from the topic of data pipelines, here are some examples side by side of AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. How you can take data from an existing system, you can run it through an S3 bucket, you can then turn around and turn it in, like for example, with SageMaker, that then pipes it into Elasticsearch, a Redshift data store, using SageMaker Studio in order to produce more advanced analytics, machine learning, AI, ML type activities. From the Azure side, you can see they have like Cosmos DB and the Azure Machine Learning Designer Studio. And so this is, again, just showing you a couple of the data pipelines as things are going through these architectures and how these compare back and forth between both of these two systems. Now, you can also see that they have the various pieces of it, how you can see how the data lake, the initial data lake that stood up, the preparation stages, the ETL stages that go on, the eventual data warehouse that's created in the presentation layer that the user consumes it with. So this should resonate very, very nicely with what's also produced in the supplemental lecture for you to review. So we have a discussion question this week. In your current organization, and remember, we talked about that in previous weeks. If you're a full-time student, just choose a hypothetical company for this particular question. But in your current organization, how would you employ an advanced data system to enhance decision-making and analytics capabilities within your organization? So start off with a brief context of whatever the organization is. Talk about what specific challenges would be expected, especially if it's something specific to your industry or your subject area, what would be some of those that may not be present in others that would be ones that would be good to highlight? Same requirements as far as the must demonstrate the extended thought. The initial posting is expected on on day 3, with at least 2 additional peer review responses by day 7. Relaxed APA for the forum posting. For the assignment question, we ask that you write a 5-page analysis document exploring the requirements of a cloud solution for advanced analytics. So now that you've kind of talked hypothetically about these things, we talked in the discussion question about specifically your organization. Go a little bit deeper with that. Start, again, hypothesizing. These would be maybe various things that you could do within that type of solution. Now, it's in no way meant to be a complete solution at this point. This is your first initial chop at what kind of a solution would you put in place? What would be some of the requirements? What would be some of the benefits that you could see and some of the challenges which you could see? Consider some of the various concepts covered in that lecture material. So you may want to talk about how it would relate to the Inman-Kimball data warehousing side. You may want to talk about data lakes. You may want to talk about enterprise data hubs as part of that. So think about that, and also include as part of your response, suggest a potential cloud service provider that could meet that particular need, such as AWS, Azure, Google, IBM. So think about that a little bit. Make a suggestion too. This would be a service provider that you would reach out to in order to continue to work these requirements. Now, for your assignment, as mentioned before, these have to be APA format, and it must demonstrate that extended thought. So make sure we don't have simplistic answers. Take a scholarly approach and make sure you cite your references. Has to be 5 pages, not counting the title page and the citations. As always, if you have any questions, please reach out. We've got the help desk forum. We've got the weekly office hours, or you can reach out directly to your instructor. Again, thank you and welcome to week 3.